Every now and again, you run into some people that just impress the heck out of you. And on this episode, I'm going to introduce you to a young lady that did just that, just from our initial interaction. And so I just had to have her on the show and introduce her to you guys because I think you guys are going to be blown away with what she has to talk about. So without further ado, enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome to Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses, the podcast where you will discover all the latest and greatest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. If you are not getting the results you are looking for from your digital marketing efforts, this is the podcast for you. And now, here's the host of our show, the local business guy himself, Frank Deming.
Hello, everyone. This is Frank Deming, the local business guy, and welcome to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Happy Hump Day. Hope you guys are having a rocking week thus far. Today, I have a really good episode because I have someone that is in the industry that I'm in, and I always love to share with other people who are doing the same things I do. And I had to expose them to you so that you can get to know them as well. And who knows, maybe you guys can do some business with them. So as I said in the pre-intro, it's someone who is really interested in terms of doing branding, in terms of doing web design, etc. And she is going to enlighten us beyond belief. I'm sure of it. I was very impressed when I first time meeting her, asked her to come, and she was gracious enough to agree. So without further ado, I want to introduce to you Angelica Neer. So Angelica, welcome to the show, and thanks for coming.
Hi, Frank. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So first of all, Angelica, why don't you introduce yourself? Who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, so I am Angelica Neer. I opened Hatch Marketing Agency 4 years ago. Was totally different at first. It was like a full-blown marketing agency, PR, social media. Fast forward 4 years later, and now I am just focusing on graphic design and web design. So it's been a journey, but it's been, a really fun one.
I can imagine. So what made you tone it down, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, I think I had my head in so many different places, trying to focus on PR for a client, then social media, and then obviously the graphic design portion. When you're a one-man band, it's kind of hard to do everything. So really took some time to focus on my skills, what I was good at, and what I loved. And eventually 2 years ago, just decided to do graphic design. And I'm really happy that I did that, because now I'm not so stretched so thin. So yeah, it's definitely been great to focus my efforts.
To become more of an expert, right?
Right, exactly. The one-stop shop worked for a while, but after some time, I found my clients too, they only wanted certain things or they were only interested in certain elements of what I offered. So I decided it was time to downsize.
Awesome. So I'm sure since you downsized and you've marketed to and you've mastered the art of design, I'm sure you can teach me a thing or two on some things as well as the audience. So that being said, I want to ask you a few questions, if you don't mind. I mean, first of all, again, thank you for accepting my invitation to come on the show. I always love to educate my clients with different people, so they don't always hear my voice because sometimes I get bored with my own voice. So hearing your voice, Angelica, is awesome. So, what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about how to elevate your business brand with design. That's the whole topic of conversation, and that's something that's enlightening to me because I don't focus on that. I focus mostly on marketing and bringing in lead generation. So this is really cool because I want to hear it from other people other than some other folks that I've gotten information from in terms of this. So that being said, What exactly is the importance of keeping your branding consistent?
Yeah. So, honestly, consistency of your brand from your logo, your marketing materials, your tagline, everything that establishes credibility and really understanding amongst your consumers. So, if you have, three different logos and a few different taglines, your customers, are they going to be more likely to remember your brand or just kind of get confused? So, really, with consistency, you're establishing an identity that your audience will trust, which is, super important in this industry.
So when you say consistency, you say across like social media, across your listings and stuff like that. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So even, when you have your profile on social media, making sure that your Instagram profile picture and your Facebook profile picture are the same exact logo. Sometimes people use different colors, that's fine. But again, making sure that everything is consistent, your brand messaging on your website, the tagline is the same as on your Facebook. Really the same messaging throughout all of your platforms and marketing materials.
Um, but okay, so how about because I get this question a lot too. How about when the dimensions uh, differ from platform to platform? Is there a way to combat that?
In terms of like the actual size, like the profile size.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes they differ from platform. Well, oftentimes they differ from platform to platform. How do you address that?
Yeah, so with that, just making sure that sometimes you'll need to downsize an image or put like a white or black background, um, so that you can shrink your logo a little bit to make it fit. Just as long as things aren't cut off, even like your cover photo, making sure that it's optimized on mobile, tablet, and desktop. But really, it boils down to, making sure that the logos are the same. So, if you have your Target logo, for example, if you're Target, you have that red bullseye, that's always going to be your logo. You can't change it to be, Target with a T. So you always want to make sure, that you have the same branding throughout, even though it's different sizes, things like that, that's okay.
Right. So you mentioned something earlier as you were going through branding that I want to touch on a little bit because you is I'm big on that too. When you said making sure that your slogan is consistent.
Mhm.
Talk more about that because I think a lot of us miss the importance of that because if you see Nike, the little swoop, and just do it. So that was their slogan. So talk to us a little bit about the importance of that of keeping that consistent.
Yeah, so a lot of times when I see a brand, even as a consumer, I want to know what that brand embodies and what they represent with a little snippet. And that tagline is really important. When I hear the Nike tagline, just do it, I think of empowerment. I think of going out there and doing something I want to pursue, whether it's physically, mentally, whatever it is, that motivates me. And that's
Right.
really, the whole ethos of the brand. So taglines, are really important for establishing a brand's identity. So, without a tagline, consumers might be confused, like, what do you do? What are you really about? What do you stand for? So taglines, I think, are really important to have. And even if they're not, within the logo, I think having it on, a cover photo or a website is empowering and lets your consumers know, like, hey, this is what I do in like 3 words or 5 words.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. I like that. I like that. So you talked a little bit about branding and stuff like that, but I want to hear a little bit about you. What actually makes you a great marketer and a designer?
Yeah, so I talked a little bit about it before, but I have a really diverse marketing background. So I've worked previously in PR. I've worked at small agencies for social media, and I currently work as a marketing manager at a top publisher, Insider. So and then I've got my graphic design business on top of that. So, I've
Right.
had all of this accumulated knowledge of the industry at large. And it really helps me to understand the businesses from, all different angles. So that's really, key to being a great marketer. And also, especially now, having the ability to adapt to my clients' needs or the current environment, as a whole is pretty crucial to being a great marketer. Um, Especially when the world turns upside down and, businesses have to pivot strategies like, the travel industry or the restaurant industry. So
Yeah, tell me
that
about it.
helps.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, and that's true. That's true. I've seen your stuff online, and very very impressed. So that's why I wanted to ask that question. And it's also good to brag on yourself sometimes, right?
Right. Definitely.
All right. So out of curiosity, I get this question asked of me a lot from my customers. And I hate answering it. So maybe I can learn from you. So I'm going to ask you something that they ask me a lot.
Yeah, sure.
They always ask me, why do I have to refresh my website? And why do I have to refresh my marketing materials? What's your take on that?
Yeah. So I honestly think it's super important to revisit, your brand as a whole. I think one of the most common mistakes as a business owner is not revisiting your branding strategy and supporting materials like every few years. I've seen a lot of companies that have been around for a long time, have the same website, logo, imagery for like 60 years plus. And whenever I look at a company like that, my first impression is either is the company completely outdated or do they even still exist? Like audiences change over time.
Right.
And a lot of times, like, so do a business's messaging. I think by not updating your website or marketing materials, you're really missing out on that opportunity for potential customers or even partners for the business.
So to give it more of a modern look to, because I know because IT, well, not IT, we're more in the design website world than IT, but it changes so often, and the trends, you want to be in the trend,
Yeah,
especially if you're selling something like that, right? If you're selling websites and your website looks like it's back in the 70s,
yeah,
then
so true. I mean, everything is first impression based. So if you have someone going to look at your website and it's from the 1970s, I mean, they're not going to want to work with you. Whereas if you've got something updated, you've got cool features, functionalities that are new to the market, they're going to be enticed and want to work with someone that's forward thinking.
Right. So in our industry, I always tell people our industry is not like, say, a barber or a beautician. You usually get a barber with the terrible haircut, or in your case, a beautician who doesn't take care of her hair, but
Right.
she does well with everyone else. So our industry is not like that. We got to be on top of it all the time.
Yeah, definitely true. You gotta be good at marketing yourself if you want to, market other people.
Yes. Speaking about that, like what do you do to get your name out there mostly?
So I think networking is the biggest method of marketing for myself and my company. Frank, you're also a part of this, so I'm part of BNI, which is a global networking group, and
Right.
that sets me up for success automatically because I'm networking on a weekly basis with people that understand what it's like to be a business owner. And so automatically that establishes credibility and relationships. So for me, the most important thing to marketing my business is networking, getting to know other people in the same situation or like-minded marketers.
Right. Yeah, that's important. Yeah. And actually that's how we met, through BNI,
Hey, there you go.
right?
Great connections.
That's connections, yeah. And I'm so glad we did. Um, so in terms of designing, what I guess I'm trying to get an understanding. Do you feel that that designs, when you create a design, what's your thought process behind it? Do you have a thought process of, do you take the client's thought process into consideration, or do you say, you know what, I know what I'm doing and I know what's going to work, what's going to be engaging, if you will, with your potential customers? Or is it totally, hey, this is what you want? Fine. How do you work with that whole thing? Help me
Yeah,
understand that a little bit.
yeah, I think that's a great question. So I'd say it's a mix of both. Oftentimes when a client comes to me and wants something designed, I walk them through a list of questions I have established. So that gets me familiar with what they want, what they like, what they don't. Really helps my juices to flow. And then I'll kind of, sit down with them and say, here's what I'm thinking. Are you on board with this? But it's really more of a collaborative effort.
Mm,
I never want to force my design recommendations on anyone. If they're not happy with it at the end of the day, they're going to work with someone else.
right.
So for me, it's really more about having that open communication, and walking the client through what I think could be really great. And also, their modifications, what they'd like to see based on my ideas. So, it's more of a collaborative effort for sure. But, as someone who's an expert in marketing, at times people look to me for recommendations. So I definitely say it's a mix.
Yeah, yeah, it's got to be a mix. One thing, I have a funny story. One time, I've actually walked away from what a client was asking me to do because I didn't want to stand behind that. I didn't want to put
Right.
my brand behind that because it just didn't do it. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. I
those are
totally
hard decisions
understand.
that business owners have to make from time to time. So I'm sure you understand what I'm talking
Oh
about.
yeah, definitely. I mean, you've got to go with clients that really represent who you are. And sometimes it's not a good fit. And so you say, hey, you know, sorry, but I can't really, work with you. And that's okay. You know, do it respectfully, move on. But sometimes it just isn't a good fit.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Not everybody's going to work with you. So, out of curiosity, I used to do a lot of, I used to work with a lot of startups, if you will. So new businesses coming up. And, after this pandemic, there've been a host of new businesses starting up because people lost their jobs. They have to reinvent themselves, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, what advice do you have for those businesses just starting up? With in terms of their branding journey, what advice you can give them?
Yeah. You know, I think something I've learned from having opened my own business and also branding other businesses is that not everything has to be done at the beginning. So many business owners I've found get engulfed in the branding process that they bleed money and don't really generate any.
Mm,
So focusing on the things that will get your business revenue immediately should be your priority. Establish your logo, which is really the focal point of your brand, followed by, your website, which is the first place consumers will go. And then, after that, you kind of want to just take a look at your marketing materials and what you can't do business without and focus on designing those.
mm,
Don't overwhelm yourself with the amount of marketing materials that you have to create, but instead, focus on the most important tasks at hand that will generate more revenue. And actually, a book that I'd suggest reading to kind of help focus your efforts is The One Thing by Gary Keller. So,
mm.
when I was starting my business, that really helped me to focus my efforts. And yeah, so I'd recommend reading that for sure.
Okay. Now you've several times throughout this throughout this interview, you've mentioned marketing materials. Are you talking mostly tangible marketing materials, or digital? What kind of marketing materials are we talking about here?
Yeah, so both. So
Hmm.
anything that markets your brand physically. So, Now a lot of it is digital, but like postcards, flyers, those things can all be sent through emails now. But even, physical things that need to be printed, like yard signs or banners, anything that you can think of that really markets your brand as a whole.
Okay. So you still think that it's important even in this digital world?
Yeah, a lot of businesses still have storefronts, and obviously people are moving to remote work. More and more people are giving up that office space or that storefront space, but it is still important, especially for retail owners and restaurants. So it is still important for restaurant owners or retail stores to have a banner outside, or a sign that says, hey, we're still open, come visit us. Something that just really lets consumers know that they're still here and they're still present. That's still really key, especially now when everything is, opening back up. And consumers are like, where have you been?
Yeah. It's awesome. Yeah, marketing materials is it's one of those things. I got to tell you, to be honest with you, I all of mine are digital, but that could be a mistake.
Depends. It depends. I think, for me too, most of mine are digital, but I do, print postcards. I do have magnets that I have printed with my logo on them. And customers like that. Clients that I've worked with love seeing a postcard, just thanking them for the business that they've given me. They really like that. So, little things. It's the little things.
Yeah. The little things is what counts.
Right.
All right. This has been really great, Angelica. Is there anything I did not ask you that you think will benefit the audience?
I think you've covered everything. If anyone has more questions, or, they want some advice on design, I'd be more than happy to answer them. I think actually the one last thing I'll leave you with is, if you're starting that branding journey, make sure to really focus on color and imagery. So color increases your brand recognition by up to 80%. So always focus on colors that have meaning and that are bold, and that will leave lasting impressions. So that's just a little tidbit.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Thanks for that. One last thing, actually, before I let you go, I remember when I was going through my brand, people were telling me about colors and what they mean. This color means this color means that. I found that fascinating now that you've mentioned that. But I will definitely leave what is your website?
Sure. It's hatchmarketingagency.com.
Yep. And I will definitely leave that in the show notes, along with all your social media connections. So if anyone wants to reach out to Angelica, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. She is a marketing and branding genius, as you've heard. So I'm really, 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 really glad that she's doing what she's doing out there, because our industry needs people like Angelica out there. So without further ado, folks, this will end this episode. Reach out to Angelica. She's a brilliant mind. I think she'll be able to help your brand exactly how she explained it here. And if you have any other things, reach out to her, social media, website, etc., etc. So with that, folks, I am going to leave you till next week. This has been Frank Deming, the local business guy, and you've just been blessed by the great Angelica Neer. Take care, everybody. Peace out.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses, the podcast where you will discover all the latest and greatest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. Don't forget, any links that were mentioned during the broadcast will be available to you in the show notes, so be sure to grab them while you have the chance. Incidentally, if you have any topics that you would like for us to discuss on the show, be sure to send an email to the email provided in the show notes, or click the Contact Us link and let us know what topic you would like us to help you with, and we'll be sure to add it to our schedule. If you would like for Frank and his team to look at your digital marketing presence and give you a free evaluation, simply click the Request a Free Consultation link in the show notes to get a hold of them. That being said, until our next episode, make it a successful digital marketing day. Peace out.